Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting. Welcome back to the American Muscle Series. We had some technical difficulties and we joined the cars as they are currently qualifying. This is round 8 of season 8 of the American Muscle Series here at a new track for the league, Oschersleben, and this will be an interesting challenge for these Mustangs. My name, Randall McGrew. The other guy in the booth with me, Andre Grandbouche, and we have Josh Wilkie, trying to not panic too hard after our technical issues running the production booth. So Andre, we already talked about this once. We're gonna get to talk about it again. What do you expect to see out here tonight?
It's almost a little bit like Groundhog's Day. I really don't know what to expect. I really don't know much about this track. I've never even heard the name, which again is a bit rare for me to not know of a track's existence, but it's all new to me. So looking at the track map, I see a lot of tight turns. I see a lot of heavy braking zones. It's going to be a fun track to watch these guys navigate. And looking at the weather, track temp about 70 degrees right now, a lot of overcast, actually a little bit under 70 degrees now. Tire temp may be an issue. It's going to be tough to get those tires up to heat. Weather information on your screen right there. But overall, I have no idea what to expect, and sometimes those are the best races.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one that's going to be feeling like it's Groundhog Day out here. I've heard the drivers complaining in practice about cold tires. And for these guys, it's going to feel like it's going to be cold and it's going to be gray and it's going to last for the rest of their lives. Right now, Jack Sanchez leading the way on the leaderboard with a 138.8. We're on board with Taylor Ballant. We're watching him in the middle of a lap here. Not going to be able to go through too much of a lap guide because we're a little bit strapped for time after our issues. We do need to go into the points battles because we have some interesting battles developing there. So if we take a look at the pro points, after last week's very exciting race at Road America, we'll see that Jack Sanchez still leading the way with a slim margin over Luis Henriquez in a P2. Luke Sudengate is trying to close that gap up. Currently has his foot on the bottom step of that podium, but he's only 20 points behind Luis with 5 races to go. There's plenty of opportunities for him to battle Luis, maybe even get up there and battle with Jack Sanchez. Then if we move over to the Challenger division, the division that's been plagued most by consistency, we see Ryan Campbell has a pretty big lead right now over Charlie Hosey, and Jeff Schnackle is right there knocking on the door of Charlie Hosey, just 1 point behind him. And then we see a little bit of a gap back to P4 and P5 in that division. So keep your eye on the cars with the blue numbers, the numbers from 100 to 199. That's probably where the most competitive racing is going to happen. And that's where we've had a lot of issues with consistency. And then last but not least, the amateur division. Right now, Dave Blair with a pretty sizable lead over Tom Wendt. Tom really looking to have some good races here in the back half of the season to close that gap up. Freddie Weaver's come alive this season as well. He has his foot on the bottom step of that podium. Not very close to Tom and Dave, but if those two get involved with each other too much, he could be there fighting for the championship right alongside them. So points battles up and down the grid. You know who to watch for. You know who to look out for. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and seems to be the case every year. It starts out close, and it usually finishes pretty close. So definitely looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out. And again, with the drop weeks coming back for the top series, that shakes things up a little bit. Currently, top of the pylon for qualifying, Jack Sanchez as the quick lap. It's a 138.451, but not very far behind Henriquez with a 138.482. Luke Sudengate going to be P3, getting his first win a couple weeks ago. And then Taylor Ballant going to be P4. Running out the top 5 so far in qualifying, Andrew Bayling in that 24. All these drivers within 0.3 of one another. Nearly a tie for 6 and 7. Or I'm sorry, 5 and 6. Only a few thousand separating them. So very close lap times. Sometimes that happens. You know, when you get a track that these guys aren't super familiar with, you're not going to have that one guy that knows this place like the back of his hand and drives away with it. They're going to be pretty competitive.
Absolutely. In the practice session, was Luke Sudengate with the fastest lap time by a couple tenths. It seems like Luis Henriquez and Jack Sanchez not showing their full hand until they got in the qualifying. We were seeing a really good look at this pit entry, and it's one of those pit entries you really have to attack. So drivers taking one last stab at that pit entry is going to be good practice. as we see Jay Bass maneuver it like an expert. I want to point out the guy in P11, and until just a moment ago, he was in P10. Freddie Weaver punching well above his weight up there in P11 in the amateur division. Until David Finch set that fast lap time of his, he was in 10th place. So we could see a bit of a spoiler up here in the top 10 in the form of an amateur.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Freddie Weaver definitely running a little bit better than we typically see as far as his division. And it could be a really good night as far as points are concerned. We'll see if he keeps the pace up. I don't know, this track, nobody really knows what to expect. And so, maybe Freddie Weaver, he's figured something out. He's got that car hooked up one way or another, posting really good lap times, but qualifying does conclude. And so the running order you see on the screen will be where they start as we load up to the grid, getting ready for a fun night of racing. There is the official starting grid. Jack Sanchez, P1, the 138.45. Luis Enriquez, P2. Row 2 going to go Luke Sudengay and Taylor Ballant. Row 3 goes to Andrew Bailing and Kevin Buckles. Look back to 7th, you're going to find David Finch. He's got Ryan Campbell to his outside, P8. P9 goes to Brandon Brush. P10 going to go David Moore. I'll hand it to you for 11 and 20.
P11 is going to see your amateur pole sitter Freddie Weaver starting alongside Jeff Schnackle. Then down in 13th, we have Chad Cisnowski, who's had a really good run since joining this league, starting next to another amateur, Mark Cohn. In 15th, we have Jay Bass starting next to him, Levi Powell. 17th, Matt Best, the best Matt. And in 18th, Camden Decker starting in P19, Matt Thompson starting next to Matthew Guzinda. Sorry, I've been saying Luke's name all this time, and now I'm starting to apply it to Matt's name. So Matthew Guzinda rounds out your top 20.
Outside of the top 20, Chuck Labano going to be P21 in that 34 machine. Charlie Hosey going to be to his outside. 23rd belongs to Jay Little. 24th is going to go to Jeff Andrus. Looking back to 25th, you're going to find Fabian Zweier. Now, he was really good in practice, didn't quite match that pace in qualifying, so expect him to pick up a few positions on the night. Ed Santinelli, P26. 27th, Mark Royce. Aaron That Face Bray, going to be P28. Daniel McConnell is going to be 29th, running out the top 30. Tom Wynn.
31st is Mike Neekum, starting next to him, Sean Johnson in 32nd. 33rd, Eli Kloft. 34th, Dave Blair. Brandon Smith going to line up 35th. Next to him, Stephen Price. And we have more. Yes, 37th, Scott Brooks, and 38th, Jeff Bernard. 38 Mustangs going to attack turn 1 here from a standing start. Look out, it's going to get crazy. We have about 50 seconds left. Any final thoughts, Andre?
Well, again, I really want to keep an eye on some of those cars a little bit further back that did not match their practice pace in qualifying, because they got a lot of cars to pass, but we have seen a ton of overtaking. It's not all that crazy to think for a driver to go from the 20s up to the top 10, so that should be a fun story on the night. But for the most part, Jack Sanchez qualifying on pole again, and as dominant as he's been this year. Can anybody keep with him?
He does not have the inside line for the start, but he does have the preferred racing line. So as long as he gets off the line good, he should be good. Now he finally comes to the grid. We'll see those lights come on, and then when they go off, they'll be racing. We'll see Barney with his hand on that green flag, ready to wave it in the air. Here come the lights. Here the engines start to rev up. How many of them will make it through turn 1? And the lights are out underway. We are here at Oschersleben. It looks like Luke Sudengate now the great start, but Luis Enriquez with a shot out of a rocket there. He's going to be challenging Sanchez going up to turn 1. And then we have another car behind them. Is that Ballant looking to get past Sanchez as well, going to be opportunistic. And a little bit of bump in there as Sanchez runs wide of the apex. Luis going to be easily clear for the lead. Sudengate going to be mired back behind Dave Finch. So he lost a lot of ground on that start. Looking like a bit of wheel spin, not able to get that car going. And he's going to look to get a position back right away as he's going to look to the inside of Dave Finch and get that move done going into turn 3. Now Finch is going to have to try to defend against is that Brandon Brush he's going to have to defend against. So we see them getting single file here pretty quickly. We still have some 2 wide racing. Dave Moore hanging out there. And back here in around 10th, they're all starting to shake themselves out and get lined up. And now we'll see if anybody's able to break away here. We'll see if the group breaks up any at all. But right now, they're looking clean so far. Lap 1.
And what a roller coaster this first lap has been for Luke Sudengay. He qualified 3rd, immediately dropped back to 9th before they even got to the start-finish line. Now he's back up to 6th, though he was down 6, up 3 now, but still 3 away from where he qualified. It has been a eventful beginning to the race. I gotta wonder what happened. Maybe it was a missed shift, maybe it was some tire spin. Again, the track surface pretty cold, not gonna get a lot of grip when those tires are not heated up, but we will have to see if he can recover from that. In the meantime, Luis Henriquez taking that lead from Jack Sanchez. I asked if anybody could keep up with him. Well, Henriquez said, I'll do you one better. I'm not just going to keep up with him. I'm going to get around him, take that lead. So we are coming to complete lap 1 on the night. You're about 1 minute and 40 seconds into the event. And you're right, Randall, they did single file out pretty quickly. That does not surprise me. With this track being a bit of an unknown and with these drivers struggling in practice the way that they were, look, they're having a hard enough time as it is. They don't want to be side by side. They don't want to put themselves in any unnecessary risk. They want to get single file, get this place figured out. There is plenty of time for battling. We got 38 minutes left. We have not even gotten close into the brunt of this race. So, get comfortable, get this thing figured out, and, do the battling when it counts later in the race. But I am hearing in my ear from Mr. Wilkie that apparently Brandon Brush has disconnected from the race very early on. Not sure what's going on there. Hopefully everything's all right. But in the meantime, they may be single file, Randall, but this is still a battle. Look at this snake of cars through that chicane. What a great camera angle that was.
Absolutely. We did see Brandon Brush had some sort of issue and he dropped down to the bottom of the scoring pylon. They made it pretty clean through lap 1. I don't think anybody in the session thought that they would make it through turn 1 as cleanly as they did, but not everybody survived the first lap. We also saw Matt Best and Aaron Bray drop down the order, and maybe we can get a replay up to see to figure out what happened with them. So we do have a couple incidents here, and it looks like Matt Best getting a little bit slideways there, and then some 3 wide battling as they try to jockey around that car, and looks like Aaron Bray gets collected in the process, and he has to drop back. This looks like Matt Best got a little bit loose there on the exit, and yeah, there's 3 and 2 don't go. Aaron Bray gets shuffled off to the outside, and he's going to be out there in the gravel. Luckily, doesn't make any contact. Oh, we see a little bit of help there for Matt Best, so not completely just on his own. Some contact there. We'll see what the stewards have to say about it. But I am indeed seeing that Brandon Brush was taken home by the aliens. He did not crash. He was just taken home.
Yep, yeah, that was unfortunate. And again, when a track is this narrow and this much of a wild card, you're going to have incidents like that. I'm surprised it's as clean as it's been. I'm really surprised those are the only incidents we've seen as we go on board now with Fabian Zweyer. This is a driver who, like I said, did not really match his pace as far as practice was concerned in qualifying. He makes another overtake right there. That's going to put him up into 18th. That is up 7 from where he qualified. So a lot of passing so far. He's actually, if I look through the grid right now, that is the biggest mover. He has gained the most out of anybody thus far tonight. Well, I say that, but he drops back 1, and Eli Kloft moves up 2. Eli Kloft has gained 8 positions back there in 25th. So a lot of movers and shakers, a lot of passing going on in the back of the field. Up front, things a little bit stagnant with Jack Sanchez taking the lead back, holding on to it by about 0.6 of a second. But back here, it is a brawl, Randall. This is not a place where I'd want to be.
Absolutely not. Chuck has got his hands full with Fabian right now. Chuck coming out the better for it right now, but I think Fabian's going to have a good dive coming into turn 1. I also suspect that's where Jack was able to get around Luis. They probably are swapping positions around a little bit, but Jack Sanchez running away. He's got about a 7/10 gap right now. We do see a couple incidents being investigated by the stewards, so we'll let you know if we see any penalties come out of that. But Chuck Labano holding his own. We're going to see this move out of Jack Sanchez for the lead, and I was wrong. It is not in turn 1. This looks like it's coming into turn 4. He's going to get alongside Luis. They got a triple left-hander there, and he's going to clear it off before they get to the right-hander. And he's still going to leave room there, and he manages to get a nice late apex, and that probably helps him open up this gap a little bit. Luis was able to luckily hold on to second place there, but now he's dropped back to third. Taylor Blant has gotten around Luis, and Jack Sanchez has got himself a little bit of a gap formed here. So we'll see if he can run away with it. We're going to try to take a look and see exactly how this pass happened with Taylor and Luis. It looks like maybe Luis had to go a little bit deeper, a bit of a panic break in reaction to what Sanchez did. Now he just drove it in a little bit too far, and you see he had his hands absolutely full of opposite lock. Manages to keep that car on the track somehow. Taylor Blant gets that spot away, but a good piece of heads-up driving there out of Blant.
Yeah, that was a good piece of driving, and for Henriquez to save that thing and keep it pointed in the right direction, that was pretty good too. Especially at a track like this, there's always those moments where sometimes you just have a bit of a brain fart, you forget where your braking zone is, you forget maybe what part of the track you're on exactly, and you drive it in a little bit too deep, and if you can recover from that, well, you're doing pretty well. And I am noticing too, in that corner where we had that incident there back on lap 1, Randall, a lot of sand got kicked up into the racing line, and I noticed some of these drivers kind of doing their best to avoid it. I wonder if that's going to come into play a little bit more, because a lot of these runoffs on this track, I'm noticing there is a ton of sand, and with the way that iRacing handles that kind of stuff these days, it is an added challenge.
And I'm hearing now and seeing it in the session chat that the car number 133, Cam DeDecker, is going to be getting a drive-through penalty for an incident with Ed Santinelli, easy for me to say, on lap 3. So the steward's finding DeDecker responsible for that incident. Riding on board of Schnackle, he's up to 7th place. He is punching well above his weight now and trying to track down Luke Sudengate. You look back there, a couple spots behind him on the leaderboard, Freddie Weaver's still holding his own in 11th, so Freddie has definitely figured something out here this week and is making the best of it. And there's a big gap behind Freddie Weaver to the next car behind him. So Freddie having a heck of a race.
Yeah, Freddie is doing really good. He's right where he qualified back in P11. Got a healthy gap to the car behind. This could be an amateur division win if he can keep this pace up. The next amateur in line is back in 15th. That is Mark Cohn in the 239 car. He is about, if I'm looking at the timing and scoring, a little over a second back from Freddie Weaver. So we'll see how that all shakes out. What a great night for the 229 thus far. 8 minutes into this event, going on 9. I got to ask you, Randall, when does the pit window open? I know it kind of fluctuates from track to track depending on distance. When do you expect to see these guys start to make moves?
The pit window opens at about the 10-minute mark, so it's going to be opening here very shortly. They do have enough fuel to make it about 30 out of these 40 minutes. They will need to come in for about 2 to 2.5 gallons of fuel. Right now, we're projecting 24.1 laps in this race, but once the fuel stop happens, I think it's going to be more like a 24 laps. So right now, we're going to be expecting 24 laps. We're seeing, this looks like an incident of what happened, a replay of what happened with DeDecker and Santinelli. No, this was earlier. This was when lap 1. So maybe we can find out exactly what happened with those two. But right now, not able to find the exact replay of what happened there that put DeDecker in the naughty seat with the stewards. We see Mark Cohn. He's got Levi Powell ahead of him pulling away, and he's got your favorite driver there, Andre, Charlie Hosey, breathing down his neck.
Yeah, Charlie's been a big mover tonight, too. He's up 6 from where he qualified, currently running P16. Fabian Zweier up to 17th behind him. He's up 8. So a lot of passing going on for those drivers, and they are finding themselves together on track. And we'll see how this battle shakes out. But that is the struggle, man. When you are fast in practice, but you can't quite get that lap time in qualifying, it puts you in such a hole. The talent level in this league is really high. There really are no true back markers in the real sense of the word. I mean, if you look back to 35th place, that is only about 30 seconds already in 10 minutes. So a few tenths off, tenths of a second difference in pace, you're not going to be passing cars like they're standing still, no matter where you are in the field. So it holds you up. And these races, 40 minutes sounds like a lot, but man, it goes by in a hurry. And if you're stuck in traffic, that's going to take away a lot of opportunity to get up on that podium. Qualifying is really, really important. So those drivers doing what they can to make up for it. Meanwhile, the drivers up at the front, if you look at where they are, regardless to where they qualified, it's pretty stagnant. Jack Sanchez qualified in P1. He is currently sitting P1. Taylor Blount up 2 from where he started. He's in second. Luis Enriquez down 1 in third. But for the most part, just kind of shuffling. I do want to point out Jeff Schnackle. He's moved up the running order. He's up into the top 10 now. He is the driver who graduated from the amateur division up to that middle division, Challengers. And right now, he is leading that class. He is actually leading it by a wide margin. He's got about 6 seconds of an advantage over Ryan Campbell. That's going to be the next challenger back in 12th. So really good night for Schnackle. But I think at this point, Randall, when does he not have a good night? We expect that 124 to be running well week in and week out.
He's had some problems with consistency, but he's always fast. And now we're going to see him go door to door with Luke Sudengay. Sudengay is going to keep the spot for now, but he's going to have the wider line going through turn 2, and he's going to get out there, and you see them kicking up the dust. He's going to be out there in the dust, and Marvel's not going to have the grip. Schnackle's going to get the spot away from him. He's going to set his sights on Kevin Buckles ahead now. Seeing a bit of a breakup here at front. Oh, here comes Sudengay again on the inside. Sudengay going to fight back. That is the absolute best time to get your position back, is the very next corner. Sudengay knows that. Gets the inside line, and he's going to have the inside line for the next 3 apexes, so he's going to easily cover off this position again. We'll see if Schnackle's able to rally here on the run-up to the right-hander. No, he's not going to be able to. So Sudengay fights back, gets his spot back immediately, so retains that 6th position. And now he's got a bit of a gap ahead of him to Kevin Buckles. He was 2 seconds up the road, so this fighting has cost them a lot. But up in the top 5, we've seen they're kind of spread out. Nobody's super close to the other driver. Blount closing in a bit on Sanchez, but it's not really super close, just enough to get a good slipstream. Sudengay's got a little bit of damage on that car too, so he's been using that chrome horn to keep that spot.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And Sudengay, he's had a rough night. Again, he qualified up on the podium, and then just something happened on that start. It got him on the back foot here. And now he's just kind of scrapping for every position he can get, that battling. To your point, like you said, it allowed Buckles to drive away with it a little bit. So he's kind of in desperation mode right now, trying to get back up there. And if you got to put the bumper to somebody, you can do it clean without wrecking them, well, then you're going to have to do it. But through this chicane, they go. And again, you can see that damage on the front end of Sudengay's car. I can't imagine that's going to impact the handling too much. I don't think it's going to hinder him. There's really not very many long straightaways on this circuit either, so the aerodynamics not too much of a concern, but we will see. There's David Moore in 9th place. He's up 1 from where he qualified. His current best lap as they run, if I'm looking at the correct driver here, 138.8, which is about 0.4 off of the best lap of Jack Sanchez. What I want to point out, though, is there is one lap on this scoring pylon that is obscene. Nobody's even close to it. That is Taylor Blount. He ran a 138.0. The next fastest lap that I can even see on this pylon is a 138.4. He has run several 138.0s. In fact, he seems to be running down the race leader at an unprecedented rate. This is, where did he find that speed?
Absolutely, he is flying out there. We see Schnackle running wide. He's going to fall back into the clutches of Dave Finch, but he's going to retain that position, but that gap ahead to Sudengay is going to get bigger. Every time he makes one of these mistakes, Sudengay trying to track down Buckles, doing a good job of it, but you're absolutely right. Blount had an absolute stonker of a lap with that 38 flat. I suspect that maybe he figured out the perfect way to cut that turn 9-10 chicane, and that and slipstream gave him a lot of paces. We see Ryan Campbell out here doing some gardening, and as he gets off into the grass and the runoff there, approaching the final corner, going to take the opportunity to dip into the pit lane. Probably a good reaction, as he's going to lose a handful of spots. And sometime we're going to see exactly what happened here. And he just gets his outside tires there into the grass and starts to go on a bit of a drift, overcorrects a little bit, and ends up out there in the kitty litter, gets it pointed back in the right direction, wisely dips into pit lane, I think. and is going to come in for service. We see Nick behind him coming in for service, and ahead, Chad Cisnowski pulling out of his pit box. So we've seen some takers now on pit lane. We're going to get an idea of how long they're stopped for. Cisnowski stopped for 11 seconds. I'm going to wait to see Aaron Brahead come in. He was in for 25.5 seconds, but I think that was mostly to repair damage. A couple more drivers coming into pit lane. Who is this we're seeing now? Oh, I hear we might be able to get a replay of what happened with Santinelli and DeDecker. And Santinelli right now in this replay leading the way over Cam DeDecker. So I'm not exactly sure what happens as they're approaching turn 9 and 10. And oh, maybe a little bit of a checkup there for the Santinelli, unexpected by DeDecker. Hard to see, but the steward did find DeDecker responsible for this incident. So we're going to get an onboard look from DeDecker, and this is going to be hard to judge from our view. But see, they're coming to a very fast chicane, and that's a pretty big checkup. I don't know if DeDecker was expecting that or not, but he ends up turning Santinelli, gets a drive-through penalty out of it, so he's going to have to, he would have already served that, and if he's coming into pit lane now, this will be him coming in for service or leaving the pits after taking service, and we're going to see him quite a ways behind everybody else because as a result of that penalty. So both he and Santinelli dropped way down the order after that incident.
Yeah, that was quite the incident. It's hard to tell. I mean, the onboard especially, getting cane like that, everybody's going to have a slightly different braking zone, and everybody's so close together. I think we're going to take another look at it here. So they're going through this sweeping right-hander. This is before the chicane. And then, you know, just a bit of an accordion effect. I can't say he's slowed down to an obscene degree, but maybe more than what was expected. So just a racing situation. I think that's exactly what I would call a racing situation to a T. Just an unfortunate situation where they came together, and so, you know, there's going to be winners and losers, and then a lot of drivers having to take a 1X when that car was parked in the chicane. They went ahead and cut through the center of it. I'll give them a penalty point, but no worries there as they are continuing on. And I got to point out as well, Randall, I'm a little surprised how busy pit road is before the halfway mark. Lots of drivers taking the undercut.
Yeah, we do see a bit of more traffic than usual. Charlie Hosey's come in. Ryan Campbell, Mike Neekum, Ed Santinelli, Cam DeDecker have all come in for service. Chad Cisnowski. Right now, it's looking at anywhere between 18 to 14 seconds of stop time, with 11 seconds being a really quick time. Both Cisnowski and Ryan Campbell with 11-second stops. So maybe earmark those two for having to do a little bit of fuel conservation in this race. We'll see how it plays out for them. But we had a quick flurry of activity there in the pit lane, and now it's gotten quiet again. So seeing a little bit of a bimodal distribution here on pit strategy. We're getting close to the halfway point of the race. We'll see a few more drivers start to come in as we creep closer to that 30-minute mark. But I am going to go ahead and call it now. We're going to have a 24-lap race. They are serving lap 12, so at the end of this lap, it will be the halfway point of the race, and that lines up just about perfectly with the time. So Freddie Weaver's moved himself up to 10th position. We have an amateur in the top 10, but he's got Jay Bast all over his rear end, and Jay is a very patient driver, but he is not afraid to go for a move. So if there's a single mistake out of Weaver, expect to see Jay Bast put that car to the inside and take that spot away. Freddie's just got to keep his nerves together at this point.
Freddie's one of those drivers that I feel like throughout my time covering this league, I've watched him get better. Just week in and week out, he has just improved. He's gotten more confident behind the wheel. And it seems like every single race, he's just a little bit further up the pylon. And tonight is the culmination of that, running inside the top 10. Really great to see. A lot of feel-good stories this year. I mean, with Luke Sudengay getting his first win a couple weeks back, and you know, now this with Freddie Weaver being inside the top 10, it has been quite a unique year. A lot of things that I think people didn't have on their bingo cards have happened, and we're just past halfway in the season, so we still got quite a few races on the schedule. More time for excitement here at AMS. This battle going to continue right here. That's for P9. Freddie Weaver is going to knock another one off the board. If he can get around him on the outside, he's going to concede down onto the braking zones. Will he cross him over? Not quite going to have to concede it, but I'll tell you what, Freddie Weaver, Jay Bass fighting for P9. Weaver's not done taking positions.
He's not, absolutely not done. He got that P9 temporarily, on the back of Kevin Buckles coming into the pit lane. Also, Mark Royce coming into the pit lane. Kevin Buckles stopped for 13.5 seconds, and we're still waiting for Mark Royce to pull out of his box. We did see briefly there Dave Blair running in 26th position, now up to 25th, 24th even, as more drivers come into the pit lane. And if you look at that gap between Freddie and Dave Blair on track, there's a lot of cars between them. That's a lot of points. Freddie is in third place in that amateur points battle, so this could have huge points implications tonight with this finish. If it finishes like this, seeing a couple more cars in the pit lane looking like they're pretty banged up, so probably these guys are hung up for the day and not going to be coming back out on track right now. We're going to rejoin here with Andrew Bailey running in fourth. We haven't really talked about Andrew. Now he's having to defend against Luke Sudengay. Andrew's been fast all day. He was fast in practice. We haven't really talked about him during the race, but he's been quietly in the top 5 all night, having a great race, sitting there trying to track down Luis Enriquez. He's got a lap car in the form of Cam DeDecker between he and Luis, and there's quite a big gap there, but he's having a good race. We see Jeff Schnackle and Dave Moore both coming into the pit lane. So pit strategy well underway, and now that we're past the halfway point of this race, we're going to see way more traffic on the pit lane. I suspect this top 5, though, are probably going to stretch it out as far as they can.
Yeah, that does seem to be the way. I know that Jack Sanchez that's his strategy every week, it seems like. Run that fuel tank about as dry as you can get it. Come in as late as possible. It tends to work out. Jack Sanchez, very good with pit road entry, pit road exit. But a ton of drivers coming out now. There is Jeff Schnackle, there is David Moore, a few other drivers a little bit further back coming in to get those cars serviced. But again, we had a big flurry on pit road about 6 minutes ago. Now we're getting the second wave of drivers, and I would say it'll be about 4 to 5 minutes before we see Sanchez, Ballant, Henriquez. I'm gonna make a gamble here. I'm gonna say Henriquez may be the first driver among the top 3 to duck down pit road. He's generally pretty early into the pits, but we'll see as this battle continues on. Now, Taylor Ballant was ripping off blazing fast laps. He was catching the leader with an absolute just mission, and now those lap times have tapered off. He's running a 138.8, still faster than the leader. Jack Sanchez last time around a 139.1, but nowhere near that 138.0 that he was running consistently. And I gotta wonder if it's the dirty air, maybe he doesn't want to get too aggressive, or maybe he was driving so fast and driving that car so hard. Did he cook those tires? Did he get them a little bit overheated? Now he's got to back off a little bit.
Bit of a slide there out of Sanchez. Looks like Sanchez is struggling with the entry to turn 2. Manages to keep going, though, and he's going to retain the lead for now. But Taylor Ballant is all over his rear bumper, and this top 3 is really compressed now. You know, Luis Enriquez is kind of joined in this battle. They were spreading out, but now they're back together again. I think you're right, though. I wouldn't be surprised if Luis is the first out of this trio to pit. The undercut does have a bit of an advantage where it will put you on the inside for turn 2 when the other drivers are coming out of the pit lane, so you'll have the preferred line. The pit entry is such that you can gain a little bit of time by the way you attack it, so that you don't really get the speed advantage on the straightaway by staying out on track. But having that preferred line through turn 2 can make a world of difference here tonight. We'll see how it all shakes out. Jack Sanchez continues to lead the way. Freddie Weaver is right now ahead of the lead challenger, so he's made his way up to 8th position because we're in the middle of the pit cycle. Levi Powell temporarily leading the way in the challenger division. We'll see if it stays like that or not. Once all the cars have come down pit lane, we'll see exactly who the leaders are. We're about 25 minutes into this race, so just over 15 minutes left to go. People are going to be crunching the numbers, looking to come into pit lane. And you're right, it's going to get busy soon. We have seen a couple little flurries of activity, but a good half of the field still hasn't pit yet.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the split. I feel like this is a bit of a bigger split with how many early takers we had, and then these leaders really stretching it out. I do want to point out that through all of this, and this is subject to change, we've got 2 drivers that are currently tied for the biggest mover. Eli Kloft up 16 from where he started, and Fabian Zweier also up 16. He has cracked the top 10, so we'll see where he shakes out once everybody has pitted and everything has settled out. But again, so much passing. Scratch that, 3 drivers tied for that, as Brandon Smith is also up 16th, or up 16, but either way, good battle right here as we are following along with Luke Sudengay and Andrew Bailing. We haven't really talked about Andrew Bailing yet tonight that much, but he's been right up here with the leaders, dicing it up and running some good lines, playing a little bit of defense, trying to keep Sudengay at bay. Through the chicane now, he's going to run a pretty tight line, but Sudengay, he is right on the bumper. He is really doing everything he can to make up for that early mistake. Now this cluster right here, going to go 2 wide into this tight left-hander, almost 3 wide. They thought about it for a moment. Luckily, they thought better of it. Not sure this track would accommodate 3 wide very well, but I'm not going to concede that position easily. So they're going to tuck into line finally, but something tells me this battle is far from over.
We're seeing it there, a bit of a mix in strategy. Kevin Buckles had fell back to this group because he came into the pit lane early, and he's now made his way clear of Sean Johnson, who's leading this group. But if you look behind Sean Johnson, Dave Blair, and Chad Cisnowski, who do you see? None other than Jeff Schnackle. So he's going to have his shot to go around these drivers. Cisnowski not having the best race after having a really good few weeks on debut here in the American Muscle Series, finds himself a little bit back. He has already come into the pit lane, so he's just finding himself struggling, dealing with some of these slower drivers and trying to get around them and make good on his pit strategy, being held up in traffic, and he's not quite able to get it done. Now he's going to look to the outside of Dave Blair as they approach the final 2 corners. Sean Johnson's going to dip into the pit lane, which is going to open it up for Cisnowski once he gets around Dave. He's going to get the move done on the outside, gets the spot away from Dave Blair, and I'm pretty sure Schnackle's going to slipstream his way past Blair as well, as Blair's going to continue on. Sean Johnson going to pit out of that battle and get some fuel in the car, maybe come out with an advantage. We see Dave Blair lifting just a little bit there to let Schnackle get that move done before they get to turn 1. Some dust in the air, so it looks like somebody's kicked up a little bit of grass ahead. Maybe that was Buckles. Cisnowski's now going to try to get clear, and he and Schnackle are going to try to run him down, but I don't think that they're going to have much chance now that Buckles has had half a lap of clean air. He's really opened up a gap.
Yeah, it is quite a gap. Didn't take him long to build that up once he got into clean air. And now coming out of the pit, Sean Johnson got that thing sorted out. He's going to be merging onto the track. We're at 28 minutes remaining. Our leaders have yet to come down pit road, so this is definitely on the far end of stretching it out, a little bit further than I had expected. All 3 of the top 3 have yet to come down pit road. Same for Bailing, Luke Sudengay. We do see David Finch coming down pit road. I believe he's going to be giving up some positions there, getting that car sorted out. A couple cars behind as well. I'm surprised they were able to take it this far, Randall. I know that it's a pretty wide pit window. They can generally stretch it past the halfway mark a fair bit, but nearly 30 minutes in, and I'm not sure Sanchez is even thinking about it yet.
Yeah, they're going to be coming up right at about the 30-minute mark to complete the lap that they're on. They're currently serving at lap 17. They're about halfway through that lap right now. The leaders are, that is. So we're expecting a 24-lap race, currently serving lap 17. Will be 7 to go this time by. We do need to see the leaders come in. We do see a big group coming in now. The drivers that haven't come in, though, are among the fastest, so they do have some of the best fuel mileage by the way that iRacing reckons fuel mileage. It's often better to be faster, which is a bit counterintuitive to what you see in real life. Scott Brooks is going to be pitting in here out of 27th position and making his way slowly down the pit lane. The leaders will be coming around. They have about 4 more corners to go before they get there. We'll see if any of this top 5 or this top 10 decide to come into pit lane. The top 11 cars right now have not pit, as well as the car in 16th. And here comes the leader. Jack Sanchez is going to dip in, and Taylor Bland's going to inherit the lead. He's going to stay out. Luis Enriquez is going to follow Sanchez in, both of them attacking this pit entry very, very well, using every bit of track here. Luis looks like he's going to be able to close that gap up to Sanchez pretty well. So Sanchez might have given up some time there to Luis. Luis might be coming up the big winner here. Andrew Bailing also staying out. So we're seeing a couple drivers able to stretch it out to a 19th lap. The Sudengay, Bast, Freddie Weaver, Levi Powell. We're expected to probably see Mark Cohn and Chuck Labano come in this lap. As no, Chuck Labano's going to stay. Although Chuck Labano is coming in, there is one driver staying out. I can't exactly make out who that is, but we have most of the cars coming into pit lane this time by. We're going to have a few. It's Jeff Andrews who also stayed out. So we have 3 cars so far that stayed out. They'll be most likely coming into pit lane this time. And look how close Luis is to Jack now as they come out of pit lane.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I like this move by Ballant. If you're Taylor, you're probably, oh no, bit of a mishap there for Henriquez getting into the grass. He's going to give up a little bit of time. So all that ground that he made up right there, he immediately gave up when he got into the grass. But as I was saying, if you're Taylor Ballant, you're thinking to yourself, I am probably faster than Jack Sanchez. I ran him down. I've got the fast lap of the race. If I can just get in clean air, maybe I can pass him without actually having to do it on the track. So he's running a lap or two in clean air, hopefully faster than what Jack is running, at least he's hoping it. And then he's going to come down pit road, get a good stop, and with any luck, he'll cycle out in the lead, and he will have taken the point without having to do the hard work. But again, that is going to be, it's one thing to say that and to plan it out and to try it, but I'll tell you, it seems like week in and week out, Jack Sanchez is the big winner on pit road. There's just something about his pit road entries, his pit road exits. He's very good at that. He gains a lot. So we'll see where they shake out. But the leader, Taylor Ballant, got his one lap in clean air. Now he's going to come down pit road, get that thing fueled up. I doubt he takes any tires. When the temperature is of concern, generally they're not going to want to put fresh, cold tires on there. So down into his pit stall. We'll see if the jack stands go up. But again, I would not hold my breath. There is Bailing as well.
Yeah, we also see Andrew Bailing, and then finally Jeff Andrews. He had a big gap back to him, but he's going to come into pit lane. That should round out the pits. The only person that hasn't stopped so far, Dave Blair, expect to see him this time by, as Ballant is underway. And look what happened. Somehow Luis Henriquez is in front of Jack Sanchez, and there's going to be a fight as they come through turn one, and he's going to have the lead coming out of turn two. And it's going to be Ballant. Ballant makes the undercut work and makes the overcut work, sorry. And it's going to come out with the lead. So the top three have basically inverted themselves in a manner of speaking. Ballant has moved up to first. Luis has moved up to second. And Jack Sanchez, not exactly sure what happened in that outlap, gave up the spot to Henriquez, finds himself in third position. And Luke Sudengay's not lurking too far back there. If these three get into a big fight, Sudengay could close that gap really quickly. We're going to try to find a replay to see what happened between Luis and Jack Sanchez. I suspect that looks like maybe Jack didn't get a very good run off that long right-hander, and Luis is going to have the inside line as they come up to the chicane. It should be able to, I'm sorry, that's past the chicane, so they've made it well past that area. So looks like Sanchez had a bad run off a corner and Luis was able to get alongside and get the move done, and now is up in second, trying to track down Taylor Ballant for this overall win, overall lead. Ballant is not going to be very, very keen to let him have it, though.
Boy, that is not like Jack Sanchez. He made that easy for Henriquez. For him to get a bad run out of the corner to the point where Henriquez was able just to motor on by without even sending it deep into the corner, very uncharacteristic of Sanchez. Got to wonder if he was not feeling comfortable on the slightly colder tires. Again, he didn't change tires, but he did sit on pit road for a while, and that's going to, put the tires through a heat cycle, change the handling characteristics a little bit. In the meantime, Taylor Ballant, let's take a look at the lap times for the top three. Now, Ballant was on an outlap, so that's an outlier, 2:08.9. But the two behind him, Luis Henriquez with a 1:39.2, and then Jack Sanchez actually bringing it back in just a little bit, the 1:39.0. So these two very close in pace, and Sanchez looked to the inside. He thought maybe he might make the move right there, but the door was closed. And again, with only 5.5 minutes remaining in this race, this has the makings of another classic AMS finish. Week in and week out, we see it. These boys like to make it entertaining down to the wire. He might be doing it again as Jack Sanchez. He made that little bit of a mistake, but that does not mean he is slower, as he is right on that bumper. You saw him get the number 6 machine just a little bit sideways, put the chrome horn to him. And now he himself going to get sideways into the grass. Big wiggle. Oh my goodness, he got that thing corrected somehow. He barely held on to it, and he didn't even lose that much time. He's going to tuck into the slipstream. He'll be right back at it. They are not giving us a second to breathe.
I tell you who's happiest right now to see this situation. That's Taylor Ballant. He's so happy that Jack Sanchez is in third because he knows Jack was going to try to come back for this win. But to do so, he's going to have to get around Luis. And the more that these two fight, the better chance Taylor Ballant's going to have to run away with this. Not much time to go. They're coming up to lap 22 out of 24, so 3 laps to go. They're running out of time, just under 5 minutes left in this race. Taylor Blant had pulled up a little bit of a gap, but now Luis in the back half of that last lap was able to close the gap back up, and Luis is right there back to his bumper, but a big four-wheel drift out of Luis is going to send him back into the clutches of Jack Sanchez. It looks like Luis is going to go defensive here into turn 3. He's going to open it back up, and here comes the crossover. No, doesn't able to sell the dummy. Jack Sanchez falls back in the line, but lots of movement here, and this is going to give Ballant another breather as Jack Sanchez is going to have another big slide coming out of turn 3 and 4. And gathers it back up and is going to try to track down Luis Henriquez. Once again, it's going to be coming down to who makes the fewest mistakes out of this group is going to win this race.
Well, I'll tell you, Jack Sanchez is making a lot of mistakes, but he may still win it if he continues on this warpath here. We'll see if he can get up to P2, maybe to the leader, but you can see he's just taking such a tight line through that chicane as we ride on board. The handwork on that wheel, I mean, he is just juking that thing all over the place, counter steering through the corners. He is abusing that Mustang. This is not a driver who's just, out here making laps, and this is not a driver who's necessarily comfortable. He is doing everything he can to squeeze pace out of this car, and it's working. He's got speed, but boy, you can only tempt fate so long. You can only make so many mistakes before eventually one of them bites you deep into the braking zone. He's going to get to the rear badging of that number 6 Mustang. Not quite able to make the move, gets a slightly worse run out of the corner. It's going to give Henriquez a moment to collect himself, but lap times this time around, between the top 3, it's a 138.778 for race leader Taylor Ballant. It's a 138.8 for Luis Henriquez, and Sanchez nearly matching the leader's lap time. Actually, the fastest of the top 3, a 138.755. So the fastest car on the track right now, but he's got 2 cars to get through if he wants to win it, and not a whole lot of time to do that. 37 minutes, 30 seconds into this event. We've only got 2.5 minutes remaining. That's going to be about a lap and a half. It is going to be tough on the time crunch. Taylor Ballant needs to hit his marks, and if he can do that, he might drive away with a victory. But these two back here, look at this, Randall. It's not over. The bumper to Henriquez. That's going to make Jack Sanchez overdrive a little bit. Another mistake for that number 1 machine. But again, not much time lost.
Slow in, fast out is one of the best defensive measures in this car, and Luis has really comes to life in sector 2 of this lap. We're going to jump back to Jeff Schnackle. We see him down to 9th place. He's kind of in a bubble here. He's got Fabian Zweyer behind him and a big gap up ahead to Chad Cisnowski, but the leaders will be coming around any moment to take the white flag. We see Freddie Weaver leading the way in the amateur division, so getting a quick look at the leaders of the other races. We're going to quickly get back to this race for the lead because they're coming around the final corner to see that white flag flying in the air. Who's going to survive this final lap around Oschersleben? Taylor Ballant going to lead the way down the front straightaway. He just needs to make one more lap to secure his first win here in the American Muscle Series, but he's not going to be able to do it easily because here comes Luis Henriquez and Jack Sanchez, and lurking there in the background, Luke Sudengay. If something big happens between these 3, Luke could be in position to snatch another win away from these drivers. We saw Jack Sanchez run a little bit wide, but he manages to get back to the throttle early and pulls it back down to the second apex, turn 2. Going to close that gap up to Luis Henriquez, who's showing the nose to Taylor Ballant, and it's worked. It's a bit of a mind punt going on there. Gets Taylor Ballant to run wide, and these 3 are closer than they've been all race. Now here goes Luis, going to look to the inside. They got a triple apex left-hander to get through. He's just going to show the nose, keep that pressure on. Ballant's going to continue to lead the way as they come up to the sweeper, and it's going to be Ballant leading the way out of the sweeper and into the chicane. But here comes Luis. He is all over the rear bumper. We're seeing lots of sliding out of these drivers. They are going for it, absolutely every inch of the track being used. Halfway through the lap, Ballant continues to lead the way. Now Luis falling under pressure from Jack Sanchez. Needs to get that gap closed up, and Jack Sanchez is going to look to the inside here, coming down the back straightaway, shows the nose, does not go for the move. We're probably going to see a move out of him in the final corner. He's like, oh, tries to catch Luis sleeping, and doesn't work out for him. Luis lands a little bit wide and manages to close the gap up. Sanchez is going to have a really good run out of this final corner. He's got a lot of room ahead of him. He bits a big slide on it. Luis looking to the inside in the final corner. It's going to be a drag race down the front straightaway. It looks like Ballant got the better better launch off the final corner, and it's going to be Belant who brings home the checkered flag victory here today. Luis Henriquez in second, Jack Sanchez third, Luke Sugengay in fourth, and it looks like Andrew Bailing is going to round out the top 5.
You know, I don't often see a mistake-free race in any racing series, but Taylor Belant just ran a mistake-free race. He did exactly what he needed to do. He got up to second place. He ran down the leader on pure pace. He showed patience. He didn't get overly aggressive trying to get around him on track. He used strategy to take the lead. He did it, I would say, the smart way rather than the hard way. And then once he had that lead, he never made a mistake. He never got sideways. He never bobbled. He never opened that door. For 40 minutes, this man was absolutely perfect. What a well-earned victory.
Absolutely. We're still seeing some drivers come across the line. Ryan Campbell going to come home 23rd, Brandon Smith in 24th. Jay Little going to be rounding out the top 25. Dave Blair going to finish all the way down in 26th place. So that's going to be a huge haul of points for Freddie Weaver. Your challenger winner today, Jeff Schnackle, as we watch Ed Sanchinelli cross the line. Jeff Schnackle comes home 9th place overall with the challenger division victory. We see somebody having some problems there. Was that Tom Wint in the background struggling through the last corner as he's going to reverse it down the finish straight and going to come across the line in reverse? Tom Wint, what are you doing, you absolutely mad lad? And your amateur division winner, Freddie Weaver, it manages to bring it home in 14th. Not as high as where he started, but still an amazing race out of Freddie Weaver. That's going to have huge points implications come next week when we see the amateur points. So 3 divisions, 3 winners. What a wild race. And that race up front, every week it seems to deliver. It's a close finish every time. We never know who's going to win here.
No, you never really do. And I do want to point out, and I got to point this out because 99% of the time I'm wrong. So when I'm right, I like to point it out. I had predicted that Fabian Zweier was going to do a whole lot of passing tonight. He did finish this race as the race's biggest mover. 15 positions up from where he qualified. He gets inside the top 10, made a lot of passes, salvaged a really good points day in that number 55 machine. Very fun to watch him work his way up the grid. But again, I think another star, like you said, Freddie Weaver, getting his division win, P14. Great night for him. And of course, you got to shout out the challenger winner, Jeff Schnackle. I mean, again, you just expect this out of Schnackle. He's one of the best. And up inside the top 10, not a big surprise.
He's coming on in the second half of the season, going to try to make a run to challenge for that challenger win. He did struggle through the first half of the season, but I gotta agree with you though. Fabian Zweier quietly, we didn't really talk about him a whole lot. Very quietly and methodically worked his way up 15 spots to finish in the top 10. Is an absolutely amazing drive out of Fabian. And I've raced with Fabian enough to know that that's not a big surprise. The guy knows how to make moves and he knows how to be clean. We hardly talked about him, so he was able to do it without causing much commotion. So congratulations for a great race, Fabian. And I think we're going to have those official standings or the official finishing order here on screen. Hopefully they work this time. We've been struggling with that here at Slow Motion Broadcasting to get it to work, and maybe we spoke too soon. No, we're going to have to read it off the timing screen. Taylor Belant up 3 spots from where he started is going to come home with victory today. Luis Henriquez very close in second place. Jack Sanchez comes home third. Luke Sudengay in fourth. Andrew Bailing going to finish in fifth. Kevin Buckles in sixth. Dave Finch in seventh. Chad Sosnowski manages to rally to a pretty good finish, actually. Finishes in eighth. Jeff Schnackle, your challenger division winner, finishes in P9 overall. Fabian Zweier rounding out your top 10 with that amazing drive up 15 spots from where he started. Jay Bass going to finish 11th. Dave Moore in 12th. Levi Powell in 13th. In 14th position is your amateur division winner in the form of Freddie Weaver. Matt Thompson in 15th. Chuck Labano comes home 16th. Daniel McConnell up 12 spots from where he started to finish in 17th. Mark Cohn in 18th. Charlie Hosey in 19th. And Jeff Andrus rounds out the top 20. Now we do have the standings working, and they're gone again.
Yeah, there they are.
Jeff Andrus rounds out your top 20.
Outside of the top 20, Matthew Gazenda going to be P21. And then you got Mark Royce, P22, Ryan Campbell 23rd, Brandon Smith going to be 24th. Then you got Jay Little in 25th, Dave Blair 26th, Ed Santinelli, Eli Clough, Mike Neekum, Cam Decker down 12 after his mishap early in the race, P30. Sean Johnson going to be 31st, Tom Wendt 32nd, down 2 from where he qualified. Scott Brooks gains 4 up to 33rd. 34th place going to be Aaron That Face Bray. Rough night for that machine. Matt Best, the best Matt, finishes down 18 after his mishap, P35. 36 goes to Stefan Price, Brendan Brush, P37. And shotgun on the field going to be Jeff Bernard in the 38th position.
So an amazing race here in the American Muscle Series. Not a big surprise there, but what is a big surprise is your overall winner, Taylor Ballant, finally made your way into victory circle. Taylor, it seemed like that pit strategy was the exact perfect call and gave you that lead. Tell us what it was like out there for you tonight. What was it like having to hold off Luis and Jack?
Woo, man. First AMS win. Let's go. This was an awesome track car combo. This was so much fun. And really just biding my time behind Jack there from the beginning. I noticed when he started saving fuel, I was a little nervous that he was going to be quicker in the pits. And so I even used the old trick to uncheck the fuel box to make it just that little bit quicker. And I was shocked. I was shocked when I came out in front of him, to be honest.
Well, you all had pretty snappy pit times. Jack Sanchez actually was the slowest stop out of the top 3 of you. So you did come out with one of the fastest pit stops, and it paid off for you. What was going through your head when you came out of the pit exit and managed to get through turn 2 and you saw that it was Luis and Jack Sanchez both behind you?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, if anybody wants to go watch my stream, I was pretty excited right at that point. It was definitely excitement to the extreme, realizing, hey, I've got the win in my hand right here. All I got to do is keep it on the track, because it's pretty difficult to pull off an overtake here unless somebody in front of you screws up.
So how much were you cheering for Jack and Luis to get engaged in a fight so that you could drive off? Like, were you watching your mirror the whole time?
For sure. Every time I saw Jack get close to Luis's bumper, I was like, yeah, get him, Jack, get him. I was definitely cheering for Jack to make a move the whole time, no doubt.
So I couldn't help but notice Luis seemed much faster than you in the second sector of the track. You'd pull away in that first sector, then that gap would close right back up. How nervous were you that Luis was going to try to make a move somewhere in that second sector to catch you sleeping?
There was one time where he got his front bumper in on me coming into that section, and I was a little bit worried. But like I said, for the most part, as long as you keep a cool head at this track and hit your marks, it's really difficult to pull an overtake unless the person in front of you dramatically screws up. So I just knew that's what I had to do. I had to focus on my marks and not pay too much attention to the mirror. That's really where I stayed.
Well, I can tell you that here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, one of our favorite things in the world is having a new winner in the interview booth. So before we let you go celebrate this first win in a very, very tough league to win in, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks so much to my mom and my girlfriend who are watching the stream right now. Love their support for this. And thanks so much to you guys for putting an awesome league together. I've been watching you guys for the past few seasons and so glad to be a part of this now.
Well, congratulations. Your first win. You finally got there, Taylor. Now, are we going to get there again this season? We're going to talk to you one more time, you think?
You know what? I'm planning on it. I'm working for it every week. This was probably the race I did the least amount of practice for, so maybe I should just keep doing that.
Well, could be less is more. You might be onto something. Well, congratulations once again. We'll let you go celebrate. That was your overall and Pro Division winner, Taylor Ballant. And Andre, who have you tracked down?
Well, we are going to go ahead and get the Challenger winner in here if we can. Mr. Jeff Schnackle, you did it again. Another division win and a top 10 finish overall. It just seems like the consistency is building as this season progresses, making a run at this championship. Tell me a little bit about your night.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised to be here. Did not feel great in practice at all. So somehow put a quality lap together, qualified just outside the top 10, got a really, really good start, and it was just putting my head down from there and really focusing on hitting my lines and trying not to overheat the tires too much throughout the race.
Yeah, the tire temp was something we were talking about quite a bit. It seemed like it was difficult to get the tires up to temp, but once they did, it was also pretty easy to overheat them. What were you doing to change your driving style to kind of manage that?
I was really trying to lift and coast where I could into the triple left there, and then around the right-hander to follow. Just really trying to be smooth with my inputs and trying to lift early so I could go smooth on the brakes and come off smooth as well, so I could really work on smoothing out my steering inputs.
Sounds about right to me. You did it well and got the division win. Now, the last question I have for you, you're up 3 from where you qualified. You passed a few cars on track, but overall, passing seemed really tough tonight. A lot of drivers said this track was very narrow, was not very conducive to overtakes. What was your perspective on the actual racecraft here?
Yeah, I mean, you just really had to be careful out there. As you said, the track is super, super narrow. It is pretty hard to get a run on somebody, but I have noticed if you get your exit speed up going onto the straightaways, you can make it super, super hard to pass. So yeah, it's definitely a tricky track for sure. Maybe if it's on next season's calendar, everyone will get a little used to it and get a little bit more brave into the braking zones. But it was fun overall. It was great racing.
It was definitely fun to watch from the booth. Now, before we let you go, Mr. Schnackle, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to my co-pilot, my dog. He's got his bed right here, sleeping next to me. So he was with me throughout the entire race there.
All right. Well, shout out to the co-pilot. I think he's why you got the win. I think without him, it wouldn't have happened. So,
100%, 100%.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Schnackle. Hopefully, we're talking to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
That was your Challenger Division winner, a man after our producer's own heart with a dog co-pilot, Jeff Schnackle. And I have tracked down our Amateur Division winner, Freddie Weaver. Freddie, this is a huge night for you. Not only did you get the amateur win, but a top 15 finish overall. You qualified in the top 10, and the gap back to Dave Blair is huge. It's going to have massive points implications. How happy are you right now?
Oh man, dude, happy. And actually, it ended up being P11. I think I qualified. Got bumped last second, but it was still good. Very happy with that win.
So, what is it about this place that you like so much? You seemed really hooked up on the entire practice session. You were up there at the sharp end of the leaderboard, up there, seeing that red number up there. It was a bit of a surprise. And what was it? What's the secret here?
The secret is I hate this track. I really hate this track. PCC, it's always coming up in PCC, and I never like racing it, but I worked on a setup. I knew that I was lacking in skill, so I needed to be hooked up in the turn 3, and then the final turn coming down that last backstretch. You got to be real good there, so I put the car to hook up there for passing. Didn't need to use it, but I had it if I wanted it. Basically setup. I think setup got me the win.
So tell us what it was like as an amateur driver being up there with some of the fast guys. I have to, a little bit of constructive criticism. You seemed a little passive, didn't fight too hard for some positions. What was it like experiencing being up there in the actual race with some of the fast guys?
Oh, I was actually watching Mark. He was a couple seconds behind me on the relative, and I was keying on him. I didn't want to fight the fast guys because they are fast. I actually wanted to use them as a kind of like a telemetry. I wanted to follow him. I was waiting for Dave Bass to actually make the dive. Once he made the dive, I was letting him have it because I know he's fast, but I was smiling from ear to ear while I was holding him back there, thinking to myself, got you, buddy, making it so you can't win your Challenger Division, but it was fun.
Well, awesome race to watch you have a really good finish and to take the amateur win. Your second win this season. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go celebrate?
Just the usual. Shout out my wife. She puts up with me being down here a lot, especially Sunday through Wednesday. And then just the usual, the guys in AMS. They're always great. They're fun to race with. They give you space. They usually don't wreck you. You can kind of race hard and know that they're not going to take you out. And racing.
Well, congratulations on your second win of the season, and maybe we'll talk to you one more time here before the season's over.
At Watkins Glen, that's my favorite track. That's where I thought I was going to get the next one. So,
All right,
you
Freddie,
there.
have a good night.
You too. Thanks for having me.
That was your amateur division, and Freddie, Weaver, and Andre. Not the race we expected to see. I expected, when I saw the weather forecast, it was 100% cloud coverage, no rain, and I was really expecting cloudy with a chance of meatballs with the geometry of turns 1 and 2. I expected there to be a demo derby here on the opening lap. They got through most of it clean. It was a shockingly clean race, given the nature of this track. Not at all what we expected.
Yeah, there's been a few races where poor Joshua had the task of dialing up a number of replays. Every time we'd watch one, he'd have to dial up another, but tonight was not one of those nights. He had to dial up, I think, 2 replays, and that was basically it. So very clean race. And I do want to put out there just a little bit of an update from what I saw in the Discord text chat. Jack Sanchez did take a tire. He took a left rear on that pit stop, which might explain the handling struggles he had for the first lap or so coming out. Interesting strategy, didn't quite work out, but I did want to point that out. We might have missed the jack stand going up, but overall, this was a really fun race. I mean, again, hard to pass. It seemed like these drivers were sometimes struggling with that, but overall, just a great product. And if you're Taylor Ballant, you got to have so much confidence. After tonight, running a perfect race like that, going into next week, you got to have your head held high. Fun night overall.
I gotta say, we're 8 races into the season. That makes us 2/3 of the way done, and we've seen more winners this season at AMS than we've seen in any season in all divisions. It's been absolutely wild. I can't predict who's going to finish on top of this season in any of the 3 divisions. So we have lots of battles going on, lots of new winners. I'd love to see it. I absolutely love to see it. But we're not done here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We might be done tonight, but we have some more stuff coming up for you the rest of this week. As always, Tuesday nights, you can be right here for the American Muscle Series. There's 4 more rounds to go to decide this championship. And then we have a double header for you on Wednesday nights. The Ray Esports Club Racing League kicks off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and then at 9:45 p.m. Eastern, we have the Sim Racers Group in the F4s. So double dose of Wednesday night action for you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Then we roll to the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, both action-packed. Saturdays, we have the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors in the Formula V's. Sundays, we have the Weekend Warriors in the Formula Fords and the Spec Racer Fords in the afternoon. And then Sunday evening, we're not done. Sunday evening, Cross Series League Racing. I think they finally have finished their dirt oval section. They're moving on to the next discipline. They race all 4 disciplines in this league. So in order to win this league, you have to be a wheelman all around. You can't just be good in one kind of car. You got to be good in 4 kinds of car. So go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know every time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live. And real quick, like to make a final shout out to the league sponsor, D-Nut Stuff on Etsy. Go check out the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop. Mike Neekum, one of the drivers in the league, provides us with these beautiful laser etched slate trophies for the winners in each division. You can go get your own slate. You can go get one of your iRacing PDFs made into a decorative slate. He sells brake mods for just about every pedal set out there. He sells pedal pads so that you have a nice comfortable place to put the heel of your shoe that's way more comfortable than a piece of metal. And he sells trophies. He sells all kinds of things over there on the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop. Go take a look. Maybe even get yourself some AMS swag. Who knows? But Andre, before we sign off tonight, man, any final thoughts as we approach towards the end of this season?
All I can say is I am looking forward to Watkins Glen. My all-time favorite road course in one of my all-time favorite leagues. It's just a great combo, and I absolutely cannot wait.
It is going to be a good one. Well, that brings us to a close tonight here for the American Muscle Series. My name is Randall McGrew. I've been joined by Andre Grandbouche on commentary and Joshua Wilkie in the production trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, and we'll see you again real soon.